am Doug Van. Good morning to you all. Some of your faces I saw last night at the party, and welcome back. I am from Indianapolis, Indiana, not to be confused with Indianapolis, Iowa. You have an Indianapolis Indian Fair State. I drove out there and took a picture of their sign. It's like on a gravel road. It's like really small. One church, one graveyard, I saw 3 houses. One looked uninhabitable, one looked uninhabited, the other had lights on. I probably frightened them when I was taking pictures of a big sign on the front of the yard. So, that was a fun evening last year. I see Indianapolis, go Colts. Love my wife and 4 kids. They're over in Indianapolis. Wishing Dad would spend less time on the road. But it is camp season. I enjoy coming out and educating people on how to get things done in Drupal. I'm going to set up a quick Pantheon site because I want a fresh Drupal install to play with to show you what it does. Some of you have some existing sites. I'm going to be able to mount this set over here. So I'm going to call this my OG-corn test. For obvious corn test. For obvious reasons. Because we're DrupalCorn. If you're watching this video way out of context, I don't have a corn obsession. So I like Pantheon for one. It's free. I like free. Drupal's free. But I can set up a Drupal 7. I can click the word Drupal 7 here. Boom. I'm installing Drupal 7 for me. It gives me not just a simple install, but a dev environment, a test environment, and a live environment. You could technically ignore those other 2 environments and do all your development on dev. And then when you're done, move it to something like Rackspace or Amazon or Linode or VPS or whatever you have. Preferably, I think launching it on Pantheon is the better choice. Scalable, fast, lots of tools. I do a session on Pantheon. This is not going to be that. But I am setting up a fresh site for myself just for now. So if you have more questions about the dev, test, and live, and the deployment tools, definitely hit me up or hit Josh up later today. There's a handful of us on other people besides us who would know how to do that, but we just can't stop talking about it. So that's awesome. Organic groups. Organic groups actually, it solves a specific permissions requirement, right? So we have this idea of certain people have access to certain things, and to look at, to edit, to add. We want to. It's a permissions module, is what it really is. If we have a content type called basic page, there's a permission setting that says any user of this role can create this content. I have events on my site. There's event nodes, and if you're a certain role, you can create events. But if we have certain kinds of events, we have an East Campus and a West Campus, or we have, I'm going to make a site to manage my Little League baseball team, and every team has their own thing, and they're going to have a practice, right? When Team X, the Bobcats or something, when they have a party or a practice or an announcement that practice is going to be delayed because they're irrigating the field and we've got to go somewhere else, there's an announcement for Team X. If we make a broad announcement on the announcement node, everybody sees that announcement node. And worse yet, if you're on like an automatic email thing where you get an email every time a node's created an announcement, you're not Team X. Your practice is not being delayed because there's no irrigation where you practice. But you didn't read it very carefully, so you show up late at the wrong place. Way to go. If we need someone to draw circles around our content. Maybe this is a college. There's the College of Business. There's nursing. There's arts and sciences. There's technology. So they all have basic pages, they all have events, they all have bulletins, they all have announcements, they all have news articles, they have publications. The same content types exist for each baseball team, for each department, for the East Campus, the West Campus. I need to draw circles around these things so that they are somehow similar but different, and they're unique, and they're isolated, and they're siloed. And the permissions grid of Drupal doesn't allow us to say, well, now I can create a bunch of roles. I can create a new role for every department, right? I guess I could do that. I can create a new role for every team member, too. I mean, we could work around this a lot of janky ways and make a lot of work for the back-end people. But organic groups actually solves a very specific permissions requirement, which is drawing circles around these nodes. These nodes are Team X, what have you. Does anybody interact with groups.drupal.org at all? Oh, good Lord. Who doesn't have an account at groups.drupal.org? So you need to. Drupal.org, of course, get your account there, set up your username and your password. Head over. Then once you have your username and password at Drupal.org, you can march over to groups.drupal.org and use the exact same username and password and log in there. So here's groups.drupal.org. I'm logged in. I believe there's a slash Iowa. I'm just guessing. Yep. So here's the Central Iowa Drupal Users Group. Note the word group. What if I put in /Chicago, /Indiana, /Higher Ed, slash performance. There's a group where we talk about Drupal's performance. There's a group we talk about higher ed in general. And you don't have to be from Iowa or Indiana or Chicago. You can be anywhere on the planet and be concerned about the topic of Drupal and higher ed. So it's not just geographical, it's ideological, etc. So here's a group. There are events in this group, and I'm an admin. I'm not a super admin on this group, on this groups.drupal.org, but I am a very, very privileged user. So you're going to see a lot of UI in here that you will not see for yourself when you have your account. I'm not even a member of this group, but I can create content in it. Again, because I'm privileged, right? When you look at this page, you see the join link and very little else. So you cannot create. So you want to create an event. You're going to have an event. You're going to have a Drupal party, please, by all means. Make sure I'm in town. And you're going to create an event on the Iowa group and give us all the details, right? Well, you have to be a member of this group first, and then we don't lock that out. You just have to be a member so that we know. There are 178 members of this group. That simply means there's 178 users, and every user has a user ID. So user ID 1222746. Not that we keep track of our user IDs, but some of us do. Actually, that's my Drupal.org user ID. My group's user ID I don't have memorized. Let's imagine that it's the same. So for 222746, whatever this group ID is, there'd be a table in the database that says this user is a member of this group. Therefore, when you go to this page, it doesn't say join, you've already joined. It says create content, okay? We don't shield content. You can see this publicly. Google crawls this. Everything is visible. But we just use membership as a way of, who's here. And maybe I'm the manager of this group, which I have special permissions. So somebody joins, and then within 5 minutes, they're posting to all the groups about an incredible overseas pharmaceutical sale going on, the best rates you've ever seen. That happens sometimes, okay? So as a group administrator, so it's a local Iowa person, who is it? Michael Hoffmackel, of course, the organizer of this group. I can manage any group. He's a manager of this group because someone like me gave him permission, to be a member of this group and be a super admin of this group. Out of 178 people that belong to this group, 3 of them right there, John Van Dyke, who's also here this week, and then James Rurick. So all 3 of these guys are here this week. Any one of those 3 people can delete that incredible deal on the overseas pharmaceuticals node. Any one of them can delete that. You cannot, and I can as well. So we have a lot of permissions going on in here, right? It's pretty beautiful. So organic groups solves a specific permission requirement in that regard, and it silos our content. If these were just forums, and go to the Iowa forum, and it's a bunch of posts, just use vBulletin for Pete's sake, right? No. The rich user interface of the organic group experience is way beyond just having categorized content. It's a whole group experience. It's an isolated group experience. It's very awesome. So who can access which pages of a site? Who can edit which pages of a site? Who can add which pages of a site? And can something be built that can follow the natural information architecture of our organization? You can't read that because my resolution is going wonky from the projector. Can we build a website that follows the natural architecture and hierarchy of our organization? We have a baseball league, and the league has teams. We have a bowling league, and there are bowling teams in the league. We have a campus, and there's university, or there's colleges within the campus. So, whatever your hierarchy is, we can mimic that in views, organic groups, rather. So, my site's done being built. Are we making sense about organic groups and drawing circles around things so far? Okay, good. So, quick note, I'm switching from Git to SFTP so I can use a Drupal backend package installer so I can install modules from the backend of Drupal. So over here it says click on Visit Development Site. I've just left Pantheon. This is now the Drupal loader installer. I'm going to bust through this. So I have a fresh, clean install of Drupal right before your very eyes. These are free for life if you ever need to use a sandbox or impress somebody with Drupal or tell them to go check out Drupal. Sending them to Pantheon is a very quick and easy way of setting up a Drupal site. I've been teaching this stuff for 7 years, and I've never had such an easy tool to hand off to people. Those of you who have your sites up and running, if you want to grab the OG module. Where do we find modules? All modules are Drupal.org/project. And in this case, it is literally Drupal.org/project/OG. So, OG. I wasn't thinking about the fact I had to do this. That's not right. So grab the OG module. And who can tell me when you look at the OG module on groups.drupal.org, I'm sorry, drupal.org/project/OG, are there some requirements on that? What do you see?
Features.
Oh, good lord. None of those. I shouldn't be, at least. You know what? Actually, I think I have those installed already. Features is not a requirement of OG. So let's go to Drupal.org. And oh, by the way, if you want to follow along on this, if you really want to go to pad.lullabot.com/p/DrupalCorn 2014, this is a shareable, editable experience. pad.lullabot.com/p/DrupalCorn 2014. These are where all my notes are and all the links to the modules that we'll be using today. pad.lullabot.com/p/DrupalCorn 2014. This is open, anybody can edit it, so I'm just hoping no one puts advertisements for overseas deals on pharmaceuticals. VI star, GR star seems to be a popular one whenever I catch those. I don't know what that means. So check out the notes there. So yes, you will notice there are some requirements on this, some dependencies on organic groups. If you never installed a module before, which it seems like in a lot of my classes I always find a couple, even in a smaller class, we simply copy the tar.gz file right here, come over to our modules listing page, and there's install new module right there on the modules listing page. After all of our modules are listed there, before them, install new module. Paste in the tar.gz. Why the tar? Because it's just smaller than a zip. It's a superior compression method. So as we noticed, organic groups, you cannot turn it on quite yet because so many things are missing. We're missing entity references, views bulk operation, at the very least, and you know what? I'm on the wrong one now. Am I on the right one? This is what I just created? Yes, it is. Okay, good. I have a couple of tabs open, so I'm make sure I'm in the right place. So let's go ahead and grab views bulk operation and entity references, and of course entity as well. So those are all listed on the page. Who's familiar with views bulk operations? It's pretty powerful. So organic groups, the point here being there's a lot of dependencies on this. It's important to go through all those. All right. And according to my notes, there was one more dependency, a couple more dependencies. The entity API, okay. So if you're going through those notes, you're grabbing all these files. And the man needs power, so he's coming down in front. The fake wall does not have any plugs on it. So I got that one. That was entity API. And at that point, I should be good. So views bulk operation and entity API were in there. I'm not going to discuss those a little further. So after I've installed all the modules I need, OG, entity API, and views bulk operation, I can come back here, refresh my page, and start enabling these things. And actually, truth be known, you can be kind of lazy and only sometimes you can get by with only turning on the one you want, and then the rest of them will follow suit. So organic groups, here we are, OG. It actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 modules in one. So that's why we call OG as a project, organic groups a project. We don't really use that word. We call it the OG module. But really, it's a suite of 6 modules. Now, there are some modules you'll download and you get one module. But oftentimes, you'll get 3, 6, sometimes 10 or 12. So if I try to turn on organic groups, I didn't miss anything else, did I? Oh, entity reference. Yeah, if I would read my own notes. Or did I not put that in my notes? I didn't. Entity is, but entity reference is not. So this is the beauty of collaborative notes. Anybody can add that for me if they want to. So I will add that real quick. That's a hoot. I said to myself, I am so going to forget one of these many, many modules. I said, no, I'll be careful. Entity reference. So there's a link for that now. Okay. So the entity reference module. And again, I will explain this. I don't want you thinking this is all just magic and it starts working. There's reasons for all this. So I'm installing now the entity reference module. And I promise you, when you're in your 7th year of doing this, you will not be able to keep track of all of it. There'll be more modules by that time, of course. So better luck to you if you can do a better job than me of keeping track of all these modules. I always love it when I sit in front of the greats, the core contributors, the people that maintain more modules than I've ever used, and they're doing live demos, and I just installed this, and something goes wonky. I'm like, yeah, it's not just me, it happens to everybody. So take pleasure in people's pain, I suppose. So now we're getting closer. Did I not just install entity reference?
I'm having the same issue.
Yeah, it's not the same issue here.
After installing it?
Yeah.
I'm having the exact same issue. I installed entity reference and it says that it's still missing.
That is odd.
Yeah.
So here's entity. Oh, you know what? I grabbed pre-populate, which is actually another module we're going to be using. So, did I mention taking pleasure in the people's pain? Did I mention that? So, yeah, my URL was a bit long. So this is actually entity reference. And again, I will be explaining this. The good news is, the harder work is getting all the modules in the right place. The easy part is actually using organic groups. So we'll get to that point eventually. So entity reference. So you installed pre-populate instead of reference? Is that what you did? You followed the instructor? Right. It's your own fault. Don't follow the instructor. He says outwardly. So now we're finally down to, and it did need C-tools as well, which is also not in my list. C-tools, I can talk about that one briefly while we install C-tools. I'm going to pop this into my notes over here. Thank you. C-tools. Actually, I'll take that one out. C-tools. So here's the C-tools reference. I'm going to move that pre-populate. Actually, you know what? It's already down below. Yeah. So it goes bye-bye. So C-tools is in there. And I have that right here. And I've copied it. So C-tools is an easy one to describe. It is a library of functions that Earl Miles, the creator of Views and other modules, was using repeatedly across a couple projects. So he's using very similar functions and snippets of code across multiple modules that he had. So whenever he found a better way or a more secure way, or someone said, hey, why don't you do it that way? Then he'd have to go back to a couple modules and change very similar functions. He said, that's ridiculous. So he took them all out, put them into a thing called chaos tools or C-tools. And now multiple modules just go towards that and use that library of codes. And then he also exposed it as an API, so a lot of people now are writing modules that require C-tools. And it's just a lot of it's a bag of tricks that anybody can use when you're writing code. Who are my code writers in the room? C-tools is awesome. So, we're out of time. No, just kidding.
I can give you your 10 minutes.
Yes, this checkbox, ladies and gentlemen, means that we've done something right for the first time today. Now, here's a very common thing that happens. Success is not turning on the organic groups module. Where am I going? What am I going to say next? way down below, organic groups UI, which needs what? Views also, right? Because so go grab the views module. I'm realizing now that when I put this list together, I was on a machine that already had this. So I was thinking about the addition, every site has CTools and views on it. So it'd be uncommon to think that is a requirement because you're like, it's already there. I require air. That's not news. So views is like air. It's just there. So install new module. Anybody who wants to can pop in that views module link on our notes, and it will become even better than what I foolishly attempted to offer them to you. So I didn't save my page last time, so nothing's checked on here. Yay. So this happens a lot. There are a handful of modules. Let me get them right. Context, feeds, maybe node queue or something. Organic groups. There's a handful of modules that have the module that does all the work, and then a UI module that gives you an interface to use it. Question over there?
On my list for UI, I need to use bulk operation.
Correct.
I don't see it on your side.
Yep, I did that one earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I was-
interruption.
I was probably putting in the wrong module at the right time, and you thought I was putting in the right module at the wrong time. And then we crossed the streams. So be careful. If you can't find it, why do I use this thing? Maybe you didn't turn on the UI for the module. Save this page and check it out. This is the lazy way of enabling a module. You must enable the Entity API, Entity Reference, Chaos Tools, Views Bulk Operation, Views module in order to use this. Would you like to continue with the above? Yes. So when you click Continue, it goes ahead and turns on all the modules that we just set up for ourselves, right? Otherwise, you got to scroll up and down. Which ones did it need again? Go down and look at the requirements. Go back up and look, and go back down to the requirements and check this one. Some of the names sound the same, so you probably clicked the wrong one. You turned on one you don't need. You didn't turn on one you do need. Don't mess with that. I turned on the OG and the OG UI, and I hit save, and then it reminded me, oh, what about these four? I'm like, sure, throw it on. Would you like to supersize that? Just say yes. Works for me. So here's the age-old question when you've enabled a module, whether it took you 5 seconds or 15 minutes. The question is, where is that UI? Somewhere in my site there's some extra checkboxes, there's an extra page of configuration. I've got to be able to do something with this. Where is it? And that's, it's a complicated question. Let's do this. Structure, content type. So here's the idea. Whether it's baseball teams, bowling teams in your league, or departments, or campuses, or offices, whatever this is, whatever the circle is you're drawing to put a group in here, let's add a new content type. We're going to add a new content type. Just call it group for now. It could be team, department, whatever. I don't know what your purposes are. But we're going to call it a group. And I look at the very bottom of this vertical tabs UI. And thank you, Dimitri Gaskin. He was 14 when he wrote that UI. If you click on organic groups, and why is that organic groups option even there in the user interface? Because of the organic groups user interface module that we turned on. It's exposing itself. That's what modules do. They expose themselves to other configuration pages. Sometimes they have their own, but a lot of times they will expose themselves in the context of other things. So look at this. My options are specify how OG should treat content of this type. Content may behave as a group content, or may not participate in OG at all. That's fine. So my groups are groups. Sounds pretty logical. My teams are groups. My departments are groups. My whatever are groups. You're running a school district. Every school could be a group. This elementary, that junior high, that high school, they could all be individual groups if you want to. So I'm just going to say save content type.
And the difference between group and group content is whether your intention is to just show content or to allow them to, in some way, participate in content.
Yeah, so one is the circle, that's the group. What's inside the group is the group content. Here's an event node and a page node and a recipe node. And these are group contents inside the group. Over here's the About Us page. It's an orphan. On every menu on my whole site, there's a main menu that's in the About Us page is an option. It's not even in a group. It's just a static page that everybody gets to see, right? But this event here is specific to this department, this team, this school, whatever. And we're going to jump into that very quickly. So those are my content types now. I called it group, and you can call it whatever you like. If I go to add content, if I want to add a basic page, oh, you know what? I got to declare it. So I got to create a group. Let's create our first group. Okay, so our first group is going to be called, I'm going to call mine Team Z. Yours may be Math Department or West Campus or something else. Mine's Team Z. And there's a description of how cool Team Z is, etc. And I'm going to save this just to keep it simple. There's Team Z's node, and I left the comments on, which is always annoying because I hate seeing the interface. But so look at this. Here's something new. It says group. You are the group manager. So I am the group manager of this. If there was Team A through Z, all 26, scared of it. I don't see. It may be somebody else. Other people own those groups. But when I come here, I have an edit button. I can change this to a Team Z space, the absolute coolest team. I can change the title of this because this is my group. And if I designate people to be managers of my group, not just members, but managers, they can also change this. So we're doing good so far, but I want to put a piece of content inside this group. I want to put a basic page, not like the About Us page, which is an orphan, off in space. I want to create a basic page that has something to do just for this group. But before we can do that, we have to, where's the UI for that? Which nodes can be inside of a group? Let me take a look at my my group node real quick. The organic groups options, right? Okay, fine. So not there. Just making sure I got that right. If you skip a checkbox in this process, you're hosed. So now let's go to structure. You can follow me this time. Content types. Let's go to basic page and edit that. We're editing the basic page. Many of you have managed fields before. Added fields to a node. Many of you have managed displays. A lot of the power of organic groups comes at the editing the node level. So we're going to, down here, now here's the organic groups option for the basic page. Okay. It's not a group, it's your content. Now, for which group? I can have different kinds of groups. I can have departments, campuses, and teams all at the same time. And they behave differently. The fields on my group node for teams, I have volleyball teams and baseball teams, actually. I have an entire sports program going on here. And instead of using the same group node for volleyball and bowling and baseball and softball, I can create the baseball league, the football league, and everything else. And those groups can have different experiences. But for my purposes, the basic page can apply to a group, just this group. There could be more options in there. Every group, and that's how it's going to go. So save this, and we're good. Now, if I go to add content and create a basic page, once again the UI has changed. Here's the, I created team first node of Team Z. I'm calling it that so that we can have a sense in our minds of how that works. Scroll down and look at this. Which group, what's the group audience for this node? If you say none, then you better put it in the menu somewhere because it's an orphan. There could be a very long list of Team A through Z here, right? So I'm drawing a circle around this node saying, you belong to that. And I'm simply going to save it. So now that node exists in that group only. Okay? I can create a view that says show all the nodes of the group that of this page. So that when you go to that Team Z node, I can create a view that says, show me all the nodes. Show me 10 of them per page, and the paginator at the bottom. Of all the nodes that belong to this group. Because views is group aware. You can show nodes in advance and whatever you have, but there's a filter on there that will say filter by the organic group that's relevant. So now we have this relationship. Node 1 is Team Z. Node 2 is the first basic page of Team Z. And that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing indeed. Any questions about that as we continue? And likewise, I can create the event content type. And when I do, I say, hey, you are group content. And you belong to group nodes. So that's pretty cool. maybe one of my groupable things like the volleyball league, maybe they don't have events for some reason. So I don't necessarily have to ascribe events to that group. That way they're not encumbered by an extra UI they don't need. It's very dialable, very selectable.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If someone's a member of a group, but let's say they wanted to receive information from the other groups, would you control that from this?
So notifications, and specifically email notifications, we can default it to where any member of a group gets it, and if somebody outside the group wants to get it, that'd be a little tricky actually. I would say they should just join the group probably.
Let's say you like to play volleyball, but you also like to play football.
Join both groups.
Would you have to be that? You'd have to be.
And speaking of joining groups, how do you join groups? Right now we have a node that joined the group, right? Node 2 joined the group of node 1. How's that possible? Well, node 1 is a group because the group's UI declared it so. We check off the group. And B, node 2 is groupable. It's group content. So that establishes that. But what about users, right? So if you go to people, and here's the admin. I'm going to edit the admin user. And of course, you're not going to see this because, there it is, good. Now user 1 can do everything, right? There's no way you cannot be a member of a group as user 1. But nonetheless, there's this group membership data on your node now. And we don't give this to people. If I assign you to Team B and Team X and Team Y and Team Z, I don't want you editing your profile, your user object here, and I belong to all the teams. Well, that's not how it goes. I would take this away from you. I wouldn't give you permissions to add that to yourself. If you're a parent of a child and you got 2 kids and they're in 2 different teams, then we will make sure that we put everybody where they need to be. And if they change teams, the admin has to come in here and move you from one group to another.
Since we're on, sorry,
No
since we're
problem.
on the team topic, okay, so a league would have a pool of players,
Mm-hmm.
and a team would have players from that pool. But what if you were going to play on another team?
If you move, or just like this is for one game,
Yeah, as a sub.
as a sub, yeah, we could put you in there. We could probably make you a member of both because you're not really leaving the other. And then for that brief moment, you wouldn't be able to go and look at the. Plus, also there's an announcement you're not getting because you were taken off the list. I would leave you on the other team and add you to the other one. That way, if the game gets moved, you get that last minute email. And then once that's over, probably take you off. But people are too lazy. They'll probably put you on both and leave you on both.
Right.
And then you'll be in your 30s getting emails about this because nobody changes anything, no matter how many times you ask. So the organic groups user interface exposes itself, when you're at the content type level. Organic groups asks, is this content type, basic page, article, poll, event, node? We created a new one called group. Is this a group itself or is it group content? That's one of the questions organic group asks you. The second question organic group asks you is, if you are a piece of group content, which group do you belong to? I have 26 groups, and you can say none if that's relevant, or you can say multiple. And then the organic groups also ask, and that's on the node level, the node edit and node add level. On the user level, when you're editing or adding users, organic groups will ask you again, which groups does this person belong to? And we can expose this at the point of registration, so when you sign up, you can choose, I'm in the math department, I'm on Team Z, I'm on the Cool Cat bowling team, or whatever you are. So we can expose that as part of the registration process as well. So that's all well and good, but there's more to be done. But any questions first? These are great questions, by all means. I'm not being derailed.
I'll make 10 minutes that way.
How many layers can you do? Like
Subgroups? Subgroups get a little tricky, and there's no easy, clean UI for this because if I had 5 clients all who really had a legitimate need for subgroups, the way they would implement that would be so unique and very specific to the organization. Because the assumptions you would make about, well, I know that would work. I would assume this, and this, and probably never this or this or this. Well, that gets mixed and matched because they have very specific use cases. So for that reason, I can't add checkboxes and drag and drops and solve that question. The question of subgroups is a legitimate one. I've written, I think, a lot of custom code that there's no good to submit to the community because it solved that one person's problem because of their node types and their groups and their users and their roles. There'd just be no way. It'd be a huge UI to make it flexible. So yeah, we build that to suit. So I heard my 10-minute warning. On my list, I have Other modules, the pre-populate and the content links. Those are pretty cute. They really are. So let's grab those. If I recall correctly, I think I grabbed pre-populate by mistake, didn't I, earlier? No, it was probably something else. OG content links. So I'm starting at the bottom, grabbing some extra modules here. Install new module. Because here's the idea, when I'm a member of group X, group Y, whatever it is, and I'm looking at that page, I showed you on organic on groups.drupal.org, you can create content right there on the fly. And when you create it, it somehow magically knows that it's supposed to be in that group, right? So, and then there's one more, there was the pre-populated module. So the idea is, I right-clicked it. The idea is, well, that is a tar file. Okay, so apparently I pasted the tar file in there for pre-populate. Yeah, that's inconsistent UI. Bonus points for that. So the pre-populate, the reference pre-populates, and I already have it installed. Way to go. Yeah, not a big deal. So I'm going to look for the word links in here. Contextual links. Organic group node link. So here's the idea. I want, when a person of privilege is on a page, a group page, if you're just looking around and you're not a member of that group, you get nothing. But if you're a member of the group, I want there to be links to add content. Post a news bulletin, announcement, an event. All we have is basic page right now. So I turned mine on. And entity reference pre-populate is actually a separate one that does not have a dependency. I thought turning on one would turn on both, but it didn't. So entity pre-populate. Here's the idea. I'm going to pre-populate this. You have to choose your group because that'd be silly. I'm a member of this group. I go to create an event, and then I have to choose the value of my group. And I belong to two groups, so I could technically cross-post. So you got to be careful about that. Cross-post it. So here's a little bit tricky UI now. Go to configuration. There's more organic groups UI to be found. Everybody see organic groups and field settings? Okay, click on that. This UI is so complicated, man. I blow this the first time I come to it. I don't do organic groups every day. Whenever I fire one up, I screw it up the first time, and you will too. So if we go slow enough, we'll get this right. The first thing I forget to do is change my top value. I want to add links on the group node, so that when you're on that top group page, there are links there to create the other things, right? So then, what do I want to add? I want to add the group content links right there. Okay. And by the way, this is where panels is better than not using panels, because there's actually a pane that you can pop in there, a content pane, that will do this automatically for you. We don't even use this interface at all. But I'm going to add on the group nodes those content links and add. Added field group content links to group. Okay, good. If you see something besides that, you didn't select something right. So what does that do for me? If I now go to my Team Z and I edit it, there's more UI. Everything we do just gets our UI, our user interface, bigger and bigger. And here are the group content links, okay? So the question becomes, for this group, for this Team Z, not Team X, Y, or P, or Q, how many of the content types that are already declared as group content? Right now we have one, but imagine we had 21. How many of these do I want to provide links for? Well, I only have one option right now. And notice there is no OG group. This is the group node, so there's no group audience, right? It is itself, right? There's no group audience. This is group content links. And save this. And now, there it is. So the group, I'm the group manager, there's the group content link. Is that a link? It doesn't look like a link to me. How do we change the way fields display on a node? structure, content types. On the group, manage displays. Okay. Here are the group content links. So instead of default, how about this manager or renders as a group content link? Why do we have to do that? I want a cheeseburger, and please put cheese on it. Why is it called a cheeseburger if there's no cheese on it, right? So the UI of Drupal can be a little wonky sometimes. So now I come back after this ridiculous thing I had to do, my apologies again, and now it's actually a link. So that's a bit funky, but goodness, yeah, thank goodness you had Doug Van Ryder show it. I have 4 minutes. Beat you to it.
Yep.
Don't make me feel easy. For those of you listening at home, that's my Wrangler giving me the 4-minute eye. The evil stink eye. So this is just the surface of groups. And there's a lot of UI involved, a lot of user interface. I can do other things. I can have different kinds of members of this group. I can have group roles. So inside the group, out of the box, I'm the group. I own the node. Node 1, I'm the owner. If I wasn't user 1, I could be user 20, which is not the privileged user. If user 20 owns the group node, they can still do a lot of things, but not everything. I can delegate the managers, assistants, assistant coach. I can create a role called assistant coach, and they can only create certain things. Team mom, because that's more important than assistant coach, isn't it? The team mom role, and that's not a role on the Drupal in the Drupal world. It's not over here. People, permissions, roles. These are Drupal roles across your site. Inside OG, which is a big circle, I can have roles within that. I can also have field level access. Depending on what kind of role you are in this group, you can't see all the coach can keep notes on every game has an event note. Every game, we versus them versus us. And I can have coaches' notes be a field where the coaches add data in there. It's right there on the node, date, time, place, whatever, what the score was. The coaches can share notes in there, and nobody can see them except for the coaches, not even the team mom. Field level access to data depending on your OG role, not your big Drupal role like we have on the screen. I can dial this bad boy down to the nth degree and do some wicked, crazy stuff, and I've done it. Sky's the limit. This is like the go-to module for so many things. Pretty powerful. My goal was to give you a little taste of OG. You like it? So what are some use cases that you're thinking of? Because you came to this class and hopefully with an idea in mind. What are your ideas?
Currently, right now, my DJ, who is not here, and myself, we're working on actually planning a huge golf event for our company. And this golf event, we've gone around in circles with the website because this is the first year they've done online registration. There's 3 different payment groups, and each of these groups can register other individuals who are not in our system and add teammates. So this would have been phenomenal had we actually known about this before.
She said there were groups like 5 times in the description of her project.
There's a lot of layers.
Totally a case for organic groups right there.
Yes, writing it down.
And on groups.drupal.org, as an admin of a group, you can pipe in a comma-separated list of addresses. You can just paste it in, and they get an invitation. Come join the Iowa group. If I knew you were all from Iowa and had all your email addresses, I could paste it into a text area and hit send, and you all get an invitation in the email to come join that group. And if you're not a member of the site, it'll encourage you you have to join the site first. So yeah, it's great for wrangling people. And in the last 60 seconds, any other use cases you're thinking of out there?
Well, I was wondering whether you can make use of any of these permissions without logins through context or something.
So without logging in?
Yeah.
No, because the non-logged in user is user 0, and if we're all not logged in, we're all user 0. And I can't treat you or her different when you're both user 0. Now we can cookie some stuff in, and there's tokens that would set and have you, but it's a dangerous game. Well, thank you awesomely so much. My name is Doug Van. I have business cards up here. Bring me to your organization, and I will show you Drupal like you've never seen it. Thank you so much.